Jess Fishlock joining us right now. We will take questions on Zoom, so if you have a question, please raise your hand. And John, you can kick it off. You gotta unmute though. There you go.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Okay. So just talk about where the team is, and just going to Portland, we know how dangerous they are. Obviously, it's a bit of a rivalry too. So just give us your overall thoughts on the match.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a big game, obviously. For us, it's the kind of last game of a 3-game week. So, it's going to be a big mental game for us. Can we kind of pull ourselves through this, which I'm positive that we can. And it'll just be, one of those games where, like you said, of course they're dangerous. So are we, and so we have to make sure that we are kind of structured, disciplined, but also able to be creative when we get the ball and not kind of make it into a big transition game, especially with the kind of front line.
Just a quick follow-up. We know how good Kansas City's been in scoring goals so far, and you held them off the score sheet with Portland having a similar attack being so dangerous. Do you feel like that's the type of defensive performance you want to put in, especially against another team that can score goals?
I think it's a defensive performance we want to kind of put on all the time. I think we had similar, even against San Diego and North Carolina, we were really good defensively, a little bit unlucky, but to go 117 minutes against San Diego with 10 players and concede a goal that was, sub play and judged offside afterwards was just sets us up for us knowing exactly what we need to do defensively. I think Kansas and Portland are a little bit different attacking wise, and so we're going to have to be ready for something that's a little bit different. But defensively we need to be as strong as we have been, and I think with the ball we need to be a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit more patient, to really then be able to hurt them with the players that we have.
Thanks.
Great, thanks.
Thanks, John. And Bella, go ahead.
Jess, thanks for the time. You may or may not know that Laura's next win will be her 100th regular season win, and she'll be the first coach to do that. But obviously you've been coached by her for many, many years at this point, been on all of her Shield winning teams. I'm wondering, from your perspective, what you think makes Laura such a good coach and who has been so successful in this league?
Oh, where do I start? I think Laura just kind of has a bit of everything. She is tactically, unbelievable, understands the game to a very, very, very high level, and does a really good job of kind of breaking that down for players to have a really good understanding of their jobs and their role. So from a football perspective, I think she's one of the best in the world. And then I think the way that she manages her players and the way that she works as a coach, how personable she is, really makes you want to work for her at a high level as a player. You want to do everything, you want to give everything. You really want to buy into what she's saying and what she's doing. So on both sides of the game, and of what you need from a coaching perspective, she just is different. She just is really different, and I think that when you get a chance to work with her, you really feel that.
And a quick follow-up to that, I know after your first game, I believe, in the NWSL, you sort of didn't want to be in the NWSL anymore and considered leaving. How much was having Laura as your coach influential in your decision to stay?
Oh, huge. she was the one that talked me down. I think also just having someone that understands where you're from and your culture was always a huge part of what she did for me. You know, obviously I'd moved out here, I was kind of on my own, and she really kind of helped me and protected me from a lot of stuff. You know, she knew that if I was struggling, how to help me. She knew if I was homesick, how to help me, and then she also knew how to get the best out of me on the field, which she's still doing now. And so, you know, there's not enough words for me to be able to kind of describe how important and influential Laura has been, not only to my growth as a human, but to my growth as a player as well. I'm very thankful for her. And I will never really ever forget her, even when I stop playing. You know, I know that she's a huge part of why my career has been the way that it has.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bella. And then Jada.
Thanks for the time, Jess. Hope you're well. I wanted to ask, there's obviously every day is a first without Megan with you guys as a team, but Portland seems like a really significant one considering how geared up y'all get to play down there and just some of the performances she's had. So I was wondering if you could share if there's any kind of thought about going into this Portland match without her on the team, and you know, just kind of how you guys have been adjusting the season with that.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I just said that losing Megan is, you know, it's hard, not just on the field, but off the field. She was just such a presence in our organization. And on the field, you're never going to replace her. It's impossible. There's only one Megan Rapinoe. And so kind of both on the field and off the field, you know, we've had to evolve. We've had to adapt, we have to change, we have to kind of do all these things to keep us being still, you know, super, super competitive, just perhaps in a different way. And I think we're really close to kind of getting to that point. It's taken a little while, which is completely normal, and something that, you know, we kind of knew was always going to happen. But we're kind of really in a good spot right now. The group is feeling really good, and we're kind of in this whole process together. Off the field, going into Portland, what's it going to be like without Megan? I can't really tell you that because we haven't played that game yet. Obviously, it's going to be different. It's going to feel different, especially with the way that, you know, the crowd used to react to her as well. And so we're going to have to find a way to kind of bring everything that she brought, all of her energy, all of her character, and just find a new way to use that, you know, and that's something that we're going to obviously kind of have to do as a group. It's not going to be on one person. We're going to have to find that kind of fire from somewhere else. But I'm confident that we're going to be able to do that, especially, you know, me, Lou, and Laura. We really have to kind of give maybe a little bit of a history lesson to kind of the rest of the group here, to just give them some feelings of exactly kind of what this game means.
In the group chat, has she reached out at all as far as this game, or has she made any comments of the Go Portland or F Portland?
I'm not going to give too much away, but you know, Pino, she knows what she's doing. We'll just say that.
Thanks, Jada. And then Jacob, go ahead.
Hi, Jess. Thanks for taking time to chat with us. Speaking of history lesson and also just kind of new installment to the rivalry, this will be G's first time playing down at Providence Park. So just kind of curious, what have you talked to her about, like what to expect with the atmosphere, the crowd? Obviously, she's played in big matches in Europe, but playing in the Seattle-Portland rivalry game is something different. So just curious as to what sort of things you've talk to her about like this, what to expect?
Yeah, I think honestly, it's not going to be just G either. You know, we have a lot of players that are going to come into this kind of game and into this stadium and probably not really had this type of experience. So yeah, of course we're gonna talk through what it's going to feel like, how hard it is, you know, because it really is a difficult place to go and play, but also how to turn it into, you know, a positive. You know, I love playing with their fans. It's fantastic. I love playing in their stadium. I love kind of turning all of their noise into a positive. And so I think we're just going to have to talk that through with a couple of these girls here, and hopefully they will be able to do what we've been able to do for years and just really turn the cauldron into something that works for us and gives us a little bit more energy than kind of it being energy sapping.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we got time for a couple more. We'll take Jeff.
Jess, kind of building on what you've talked about with history, 11 years ago or so, we hoped it would be a rivalry, right? It's proximate, there's other things, and now you've been a big part of what's going to be the 39th and 40th matches in this rivalry already, competitive matches over the next month. Can you reflect back on what maybe you had hoped for as a competitor, seeing other rivalries where you came from in the UK and where it reflects on being a part of building something that's also pretty special?
Yeah, I think with these types of games, you know, you need history, right? And so at the beginning, when it was kind of written out that that's what this would be, it was kind of early, you know. It was really early to call it that because there was no history to it. It was kind of like, what can this become? And I think over the years, you know, the games that we've had, and we've had some unbelievable games, both down in Portland and both up here in Seattle, where you now have a lot of history. I was saying that you could do a whole Netflix episode on the games, the different types of games, what they've meant, what they've meant from a Shield and Championship point of view, what they've meant on the field, within the game, the players that were playing in them. I mean, there's just so much that you could write about it, and that's exactly what you kind of wanted, right? And so it's kind of our job and Portland's job to keep that going. You have to keep the history. It's the only way that these things continue is the history. You know, everyone talks about all the rivalries, like you say, in Europe, and the rivalries are not just present day, they go back, you know, 2-3 decades. And I think that's the beauty of this, is there has been so many times where Portland have been on top or Seattle have been on top, and each team have been in a different kind of situation. Even when, you know, 2 years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, might have been 3, I can't really remember, it's been so long, where, you know, Portland were in Gotham and they needed to win the Shield, and they didn't, and then we go and win, and we win the Shield. And even though it wasn't a direct situation, that rivalry was still present, you know. Even from their post-match comments of that game, it was about us, right? And so that is what makes it so special, is that's the history of this game. And so, you know, we have to keep remembering that, because like I said, what makes a rivalry so special is you talk about the present game itself, but it's the history that surrounds everything that makes it what it is.
All right, we got time for the last one from Steven. Steven?
Just kind of one more on that same theme. Like back in 2013, your first game in Portland was before you guys had ever played a home game, and there was maybe a dozen Reign fans in the stands. And tomorrow there's going to be an away crowd that's going to be comparable to some of those home Starfire crowds in that first season. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about kind of the growth of support for the team and kind of the impact that has on the players in these big games.
Yeah, it's huge, right? And like I said, that goes into what I just said. Like, that's the history of it, right? Like, you start off small and then you grow into something that is much bigger. And it says a lot about where this league is too, that you have such a following fan base that are able to travel, right? It's hard to do that in this country. So being able to have our fans at that game, and a lot of them will be huge for us, and it will be nice for us. But like I said, that just comes down to the history of what kind of this game is, and being able to be a traveling fan, right? It's not easy to be a traveling fan in this league, and so that's what kind of makes this all so special. And we can't wait to see our fans down there and thank them for traveling down and supporting us on the road, you know, and you know, that'll give us some extra energy, I have no doubt.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thanks, Jess. We'll have Lauren here soon.